Hello everyone, welcome to our channel. Today I take immense pleasure in presenting before you our special guest for today, Dr. Ruchika Bhawal. I have worked with Ruchika on a project involving mass spectrometry. Ruchika is extremely talented, hardworking, and very helpful. She completed her undergrad and master's studies in India, and then she went for PhD in the University of Texas at Arlington. She has also worked in the proteomics and metabolomics facility at Cornell University as a senior staff scientist, and this is where I had the pleasure of working with Ruchika together on a couple of publications. We kept in touch even afterwards, and currently Ruchika is working as a lead scientist at International Flavors and Fragrances. I have linked her LinkedIn profile below for you in case you are interested. Owing to her vast experience, Ruchika is truly an expert in mass spec. She has answers to almost every mass spec question you can possibly imagine. In academics, Ruchika has always been a straight A student throughout and is an amazing human, and her scientific career has been a complete roller coaster. In other words, there's a lot to learn from Ruchika's experience. She has kindly consented to take some time out of her busy schedule today to answer a few questions about her experience studying and working in the US so that you all have a better idea of the process and what to expect. Thank you very much, Ruchika, for your time today. So, let's get started. Ruchika, you were working in Jadavpur University as a research associate after your master's studies. So, what made you decide to move to the US for your PhD?
Hello, everyone, and thanks to Bidisha and Devjit for inviting me to have a friendly talk here with all of you guys. Bidisha is really very kind, sweet-hearted person with whom I interact while I'm in Cornell during her research studies. So yes, I'm not a very ambitious child from childhood because I came from a very humble middle-class army officer background. So when I was a child, my dream is only to be an pilot and roaring the sky. But when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade. That's what happened after my marriage. My early marriage takes place in early 20s, and I started to know what's being financially independent and what is the need to follow the dreams that make you much more happier than only being married. So started my master's in Baroda, where my husband was there at that time. So during my master's in chemistry in MS University in Baroda, I got my first position there. So based on that, I get a lot of industrial offers. But as we all know, we are all Indian women. After married, there's a very little chance to get selective of what you want in life. So same thing happens to me. I have to go back to the place where my husband stays and leave all the job offers. But again, it started after my daughter was born. So I moved to Kolkata where my daughter was born. When my daughter was about 2 months old, then my husband planned to come to US to pursue his PhD. So at that time, I have to stay home with my daughter. The only option for me is to go ahead with life. I took my 6-month-old daughter and come to US to start my PhD in the same university, in the same department.
Starting a PhD position in a different country is already so challenging. And then you had an infant with you. I cannot imagine how you managed all of that. How was your experience in adjusting to the culture shock? What did you find the easiest or most difficult to cope up with?
Yes, when we are an international student and also international mom with an infant child, it is pretty difficult journey. At that time, I was not very proficient in English also. So for me, learning English, talks in English, having that confidence in myself. So this first few days after that, I grabbed that confidence. I started communicating with the people well. Then I go around and try to figure out all those things. But when are you right now in US, it is very easy to get everything. But when I came here about 15 years back, sometimes it is not very easy to get all the stuff that we are used to get in India. But the other things what I learn is here the people in US are very cooperative. They are very friendly. So try to mix with, try to talk, try to communicate with people. Everybody is so helpful over here. So you get enough help in any regards in US.
During my PhD also, I found that everybody was super helpful in my department, in my university, even outside. There was never a lack of helpful people who helped me out in a lot of things, not just in my education or also in my daily life. Can you briefly describe your PhD program? What was the overall goal or application of your research in related to mass spectrometry?
Yes, I started my PhD in analytical chemistry because my background is master's in analytical chemistry. And I joined in a very profound lab of Dr. Sandy Das Gupta. He is one of top 100 analytical chemists or analytical scientists in the world. So his lab is mostly on ion chromatography. So I started my PhD journey over there. But I published a high impact paper manuscript also from his lab within first year of my research. In that lab, the only thing is we have to spend more and more times because that area of the field and chromatography is not so much prevalent in India. So I don't have that much background. And also that lab building all those electronic circuits for the instrumentation. So I have to go through a lot and I cannot give so much time on the lab because of my other responsibilities. Then after 2 years of doing that, we had a very good talk with my mentor and we both decided that I will go and look for a lab which is less challenging in regards to the time. And at that time, my PhD advisor, Dr. Chaudhary, joined in UT. So he is working in the proteomics, basically the mass spectrometric method used to identify protein structures, functions related to various diseases. I joined the lab after second year of my PhD. I published 3 papers in a very good journal with him. And not only that, I'm the first PhD student in his lab. So not only we work on our research and publications, writing grants with him, but also we buy each and everything's needed for the lab, from a glasswares to the instrument. So it's a nice experience. I learned a lot from that lab, and that helps me in further career.
Wow, 3 publications in 3 years. That's amazing. You have set the bar so high despite all the challenges you had. Now it will be difficult for most students who are watching this video to match that bar. But yeah, I also switched to a different lab after 2 semesters, and I'm so glad I did that. My PI in the new lab was amazing. We published many papers together, and some are still in the pipeline. We are still in touch with each other. And yeah, it was really challenging in the beginning to work on a completely new program from scratch. But looking back, I'm so grateful. I learned so much. It was truly a manifestation of, what doesn't kill you actually makes you stronger. You had mentioned that you were already a mother when you started your PhD, and an international PhD student and a mother. To me, being each of them alone already is daunting. How did you manage both of them together? Can you give us some tips on your time management skills?
Work-life balance for anybody, whether you're a mom, whether you're a girl, or whether a boy, or whether you're a man, is very important. Yes, it is where there's a will, there's a way. So when you look back at the current situations, as a PhD student life, as you said, it is sometimes hectic because sometimes the publications what you want or the research you are doing is failing, and you are losing your hope, you're losing your dream. But if you maintain a schedule, maintain in your head, no, that much time I have to work. I have to work whether I fail or whether I win. So finally, you see the result in the 5 years of your PhD journey. Yes. So it is not about how you balance yourself. It is basically how much eager, what is the dream? Do you want to follow your dream? Do you want to finish your PhD? Do you want to go in that life? If you have that thing inside, there's none that can stop you.
There is no doubt about the fact that you have worked extremely hard. I still remember you replying to emails, sending project results at 1 a.m. in the night when you were in Cornell, and you have always delivered results on time. You were never late. Your journey is a great example of what I also believe in. Most of the time, there is no predetermined path to achieve our goals. We can learn from others, get inspiration from others, but eventually we have to do what works best for us. We cannot restrict ourselves to rules when it comes to following our dreams and goals. So it looks like you finished your PhD in roughly 5 years, an excellent timeline even after all of the challenges you had. And I get a lot of questions from students as to what is the normal timeline for completing PhD, at least in the STEM field.
Yes, it depends on both you, the researcher, and your PI. And also it depends upon the research work, and also it also depends upon the lab in which you have joined. If the lab is already very established one, so all the projects are already in the timeline. So if you join that type of lab, it is very easy to finish your PhD within a timeline of 5 years. But it doesn't matter how much time you spend in your PhD. The most important matter is what you learn from there. If you know what you learn from there, that will finally excel your career. So for me, it is not that timeline is so important. And the timeline is also, as I said, it depends upon your advisor. Also, some of the advisors are very well. They want to give you the PhD in that 5 year limit. Somebody said, no, you do not have a publication yet. I can't give you a PhD. You need to have at least 1 or 2 publication before you have done PhD. So you have to do some extra work.
That is so true, Ruchika. I also tell students that it doesn't matter whether you finish your PhD in 3 years or 7 years. Those extra 2 to 3 years wouldn't make any difference in your life. However, you should focus on your achievements, accomplishments, and try to get as many publications, grants, awards. When you are satisfied with your accomplishments, then you should defend your thesis. So, what goals did you set for?
So for me, when I joined as a PhD, my goal is not only to complete my PhD, further that, what will I achieve and where will I go after my PhD? So during my PhD, I know to get a better job in future, I need to have a better publication. Not only I have to have a better publications, but also I have to present my work to scientific society in different national and international conference so that more and more people knows about me. And this is very important for every international student. You have to make sure not only your work shine in a high impact journal, but also your work shines in scientific community. So that can only be done when you go for different type of conferences, goes for either poster presentation in the early PhD and later on go for a talk, so that more and more people interact with you, knows you. That will help in your better future.
So, you also have research experience in India, actually, one of the most premier institutes in India. How would you compare your research experience in India versus the US?
Oh, it's dramatically different. So what I see the difference, that's what I say, is infrastructure. When I am doing my master's in India, I only see the instrument from at a distance of 20 feet. But when I came to US, the better instrumentation, which is needed much more for my field in analytical chemistry, I can touch the instrument. I can use this instrument. So that is what I see the major difference, because there are some of my friends who are doing PhD in analytical chemistry in India. And I heard from them, the only thing they do is making the sample, give the sample to the operator and standing beside that. So I understand in India, since we are a country full of peoples and lots of other challenges. So that is, as a researcher, if I said, that is the difference between the US research and the India research. In US, you have better infrastructure, you are more hands-on experience of different things, you can go to different conferences, you can talk with different scientific community, which is little bit not so profound in India.
Looking back, what would you have done differently if you were given a chance to redo your PhD?
I sometimes think I want to start my life from my early childhood, and I plan differently. Maybe I will be a very ambitious child from my early childhood. I will not marry at an early stage or have a baby at an earlier life. So if I get a chance to redo my PhD, so I will, of course, do in a better university, where also in because I have limited option at that time of my life, where I have to go a particular department and particular university. So it will not be like that. I have a better options, more options to look for, more labs to look for where I want to start my PhD. But I have no regrets. Whatever I have achieved or whatever I have got, so I'm happy for that.
What advice would you give to students who are looking forward to pursue their PhD in the US?
Finish your bachelor's or master's with a good grade, then good scores in GRE. And also, if they need the TOEFL scores or not, or IELTS scores, go and look for the different type of labs where your interest matches or where you want to pursue your research. And then based on that, write an excellent SOP, statement of purpose, because that is also very important. While I joined as a PhD, so they look at where my interest lies it and what I want to do in this 5 years of my research. You can contact those universities, you apply for them, at least apply for 4 or 5 universities. Some may be at a higher score, high good ranking, some may be in the middle ranking, and some may be not that great ranking. You look for that labs, talk to the PIs, and then you start your journey.
So, after your PhD, you worked as a research scientist in Texas Tech and then in Cornell. What made you choose these two institutions or these positions after your PhD?
So I already made up my mind that I don't want to go for my postdoc. There is nothing wrong in going to a postdoc and do further research. But somehow in my mind, I thought of going to some industries, but life makes its own journey. So I landed in a job in Texas Tech before I finished my PhD. I went for an interview when the 6 months left, and they selected me as a research associate. So I started as a research associate in that institute because that salary or that remuneration is better than the PhD at that time. But as the days goes on, I want to go further and I start applying. And within applying 3 to 4 months, I get at least 2 or 3 places where they called for my interview. One of them is from the Cornell. So I came here, I presented my research. They are also feel it interesting, exciting, and I get that offer as a staff scientist. I started as a staff scientist and then promoted to senior staff scientist in Cornell. And finally, after in Cornell for about 5.5 to 6 years, I get my industrial position. That also very luckily that I did not apply for it. But when they look at my profile and publications in LinkedIn, different types of recruiters, they want to talk to me for their open position. I went for their first team interview, then in place interviews and all those things, and finally got selected.
Those who doesn't want to stay in academia after PhD, are there opportunities to go into industry positions similar as yours directly after PhD in metabolomics and proteomics? If yes, what kind of roles can one expect, and what kind of skills would a PhD student need to grow during their PhD if they want to go to the industry position directly after PhD?
So for international student, the most difficult things to get in the industry is the visa issues. Because we mostly come in US as an F1 student or F1 visa, and we have a 3 years OPT after we're done with our PhD. So during that OPT, optional training, so that time we can join in the industry and the industry will further sponsor the visa and help us to stay there. But the problem is since we are coming directly from the university with no background experience, most of the industry is a little bit hesitant to take the fresh PhD. If they take the first PhD as a associate scientist or scientist positions, it is just the entry level where they get trained by various upper level scientists. So you will go to the either scientist 1 level where you started your career from there, that's an entry level, and then further you proceed and the company will finally sponsor your H1B or work visa or the green card in later stages of life.
So I believe that you were on F1 visa during your PhD and then F1 OPT during your first scientist position in Texas and then H1B in Cornell. And right now you have a green card. So if I'm correct, Cornell sponsored both your academic H1B and also your green card, right? How did that process go?
Yes. So I should consider myself very lucky. So yes, Cornell has sponsored both my academic H1B, which is for 6 years, and also they sponsored EB1B for scientists in Cornell University, which is called Green Card or Permanent Residentship. They sponsored both H1B for 6 years. And within the 6 years, I did not even completed my H1B. After 4 years of my H1B, they started my green card application process, EB1B.
What would you recommend that PhD students who are coming in the US with the dream of getting a US green card, what should they do starting from their PhD as early steps of preparation to make sure that the process of green card application becomes smooth and easy for them, and they have all the necessary skills, all the necessary documents at hand before they can even think of applying for a green card?
You need to have at least some few high impact factor publications. Why? Because they want to see what you can contribute to the scientific community and to the world. Then how? By looking at how many citations you have. So more the citations you have for your publication, there's a better chance to get green card. EB1A or EB1B, both are for the top researchers or scientists. So it is better for you can get it in a lesser amount of time. For my case, at that time of my life, I don't have a very high citation number. So for my journey, it takes about 8 months. I applied for it with my publications, citations, recommendations from different professors and scientists at different parts of the world. At least you need to have 5 to 7 good recommendation letters telling about how your research impacted the scientific community. So EB1B is a process which is approved within 15 days. So I come to know I have approved but after doing EB1B, that is called approval, you get I-140. So after that, again, you have to go for a normal permanent residency where you have to assemble all the documentation like our visa for the last so many years visa and other documentation you can find in the website, and then you can apply for it. So at that time for this category, EB1B category, it takes about 6 to 12 months, and for my case, they took about 8 months.
Wow, that's actually really short timeline, because 8 months, and you are so humble. You say that you didn't have enough citations, but I can only imagine how talented, how good your profile have been for you to have got your green card within 8 months. That's really good advice that the PhD students or any student who is planning on staying in US, getting a US green card, should start preparing from very early on. Try to get their hands on good high impact factor publications or make an impact in the scientific field. So probably final question for today. Do you have any plans on going back to India, or are you quite happy with your job and life here?
That's a very tricky question to answer at this point of my life where my career is flourishing. So yes, I am not right now have any idea where will I be in the next 20 years. If you say yes, in my career, I want to go ahead where I am. Right now, I'm a lead scientist. So my thing is the next position, I will go for some associate director, and further. So now there is no such plans to go back to India at this point of time. It's not only that my dreams I am following, I'm also have many responsibility, family responsibility as a single mom. So I have to keep that also in mind. I have a kid to take care and to make her life, at least she can stand on her feet in the next 5 to 10 years. And then I will plan my life whether I want to stay further in the US and or go back to India and stay in some hill place in a small cottage and live their life happily.
Wow, Ruchika, such an amazing, inspiring life you had. I feel so motivated and believe that many of our students, especially women with families and kids who believe that once they have a child, their career is over, should learn from your experience and should not put a brake on their careers just because of family burdens. One very important thing that I learned from your talk is that despite all the challenges, you expressed gratitude. You found positivity, you focused on the things that worked, and moved on. You didn't restrict yourself to the failures or hurdles, and that is what I think is the single most important factor in achieving our dreams. No matter how good you are, how smart you are, you will face challenges that will beat you to the ground, but you have to find a reason to stand up and keep moving. And there are no shortcuts to this. Thanks a lot, Ruchika. I wish you good luck in all your future endeavors.
Thank you, Vidisha and Devjit, for this wonderful opportunity to showcase about me. If I can at least inspire a single girl or a single mom to go ahead in the life even after so many other responsibilities and failures. Please go ahead, follow your dreams, and best wishes to Devjit and Vidisha and as well as all.
Thank you all for being here. If you liked our video, please subscribe to our channels to support us and so that you don't miss our future videos. Also, let me know in the comment section if you want to know more about work, education, and life in the US and EU.